My name is Chepkui Agre, and most people know me as Agre Dike because why? Okay, Dike stands for Davis Kusro, and that's my late father's name. I'm also a musician here in Sebei. Specifically, find me in Kapchoro. When you come to Kapchoro, you find me in Siron. And when you come to Siron, you find me in a village called Kamutulai. Now, for a very long time, ladies and gentlemen, I have always wanted to share the story of our home. Uh, uh, Everyone has a sad story to tell about where they came from. Mine is sad to me, yes, but I have never used it as a weak point or something to seek for sympathy. Instead, I have used my sadness to become a stepping stone to something better in life. Now, in the year 1999, we lost our father tragically. Back in the day, we did not have a lot of senior doctors who used to do major surgeries. Now, medical reports indicated that my father died of severe intestinal complications. And of course, if this were today, we can say perhaps he would have got medical attention. Now, when my father died, he was, by then in 1999, he was 39 years old. And his wife, my mother, was 28. And these two already had five children. And these five children, um, I am the third born. My sister by then, who is our firstborn, is and apparently having four children because she's married in Bukedia already. She was in P4 by then. I remember I was in primary two, and our last born, my mother's daughter, was 7 days old when my father passed. And things happened like that. It was sad and it was something that you can say really, really sad because in that year, just 2 weeks after my father was buried, my mother's houses, of course, the houses that our father left for us, the two of them caught fire, burning everything that was left in that house, including the only timber that my father had purchased with the hope of building for us a Mabati house. Things happened. Things were terrible. You cannot imagine what we went through. I remember neighbors coming in to donate for us, to give us things here and there. Now, I always want to thank my mother because being an illiterate like her, a P4 dropout, she managed to do the unthinkable. She hustled her way out with the people who could support her, my uncles, my aunties, and of course, I always send my regards to them. She was able to raise us, and right now, as we speak, we have several degrees in the house. Now, you cannot measure success using the number of degree documents that you have in the house. Me, I believe that the best way to measure success is when you, as a parent, you have children that you believe have really tried to heed your advice, respect you as a person, respect those around you, and try to understand. Now, my point of making this video right here in Sebei, here in Uganda. I know you're watching from Kenya, Tanzania, or USA. I have people who follow me on my YouTube account, my YouTube channel. I have so many people coming from Canada, from the US. Many of them are here in Sebei. The point of this video is to encourage somebody who is out there that life does not just end where you are. It doesn't matter the situation you are in. I'm here to tell you that there is hope. There is hope for you. You could have, maybe you lost your husband, maybe you lost your father, maybe you lost your mother, maybe you lost your children, but there is hope. There is light at the end of that tunnel. You cannot imagine what we went through. I remember when some people came to our home at around 8 a.m. in the morning and just started beating my mother because some of the questions they raised were, how is this widow able to feed these five orphan children? That means she's stealing food. So it was a practical allegation, and they beat up my mother. They beat up my mother. They beat up my mother. And sometimes I close my eyes and I'm able to see one of them, one of the gentlemen, kicking my mother somewhere here. It was a tough kick. It was not until recently that my mother stopped complaining about this pain that used to pierce her within on her side this way. Uh, some of the lessons that we learned is because God has lifted us, He has brought us from so far. We cannot say that maybe we are so powerful or so, but no, that's not the case. The point is God has lifted us, and this is what they always say: never look down on people who look like maybe they are alone in their situations. God pulled us from a situation of agony, and He made something out of us. Right now, I'm a secondary school teacher. It looks to be something small to you out there, but I hold a bachelor's degree of arts with education, specifically English language and literature. Now, that's not the point. The point is you need to do something that you like. In your situation, in your home, in your family, you must learn to understand what you like. One of the most important things that you must have in a family as you wade through those troubles, those temptations, those challenges that you are in, is to have respect. You must have respect for your parents. This is something that I always tell children. There are so many people out there who are in similar situations or even worse. Do not give up. Do not give up on your mom. Do not give up on your kids. Do not give up on your father. My mom stayed. So many people tried to get her to leave the family so that the family would just break. But she stood her ground and she fought. You know, she fought. I remember when our two houses got burnt, and my sister who follows me, her name is Niva Chalangat. I remember she was still so young. You know, she was still so young, and it was probably I should say 12 days after my father was buried, and my grandmother, she passed on about 3 months ago, was still alive then, and because she had just lost her first child, her firstborn, her first son, she chose not to go back to her house earlier. So she stayed with us. She kept sleeping in the kitchen as we used. There were these two grass thatched houses. The other acted as the main house, and then the other acted as the kitchen. My grandmother remained. She stayed with us. Now, one evening, that fateful evening when the fire consumed our houses, I want to thank God because God used my grandmother to save my sister. Never, because I remember my sister started dozing while we were having supper, and then my mom calls my sister, our elder sister Viola, and she's like, you know what, come and carry Neva and take her to the main house. And because Neva was asleep, and of course Viola carried the child, of course, responding to the mother's call. Viola carried Nifa now from the kitchen to the other house. Now, before she could enter the other house, my grandmother called and said, you know what? Bring back that girl. Let her sleep next to me here in the kitchen until when you guys are ready to go to sleep, you will go with her at once. I don't want her to be sleeping alone in the other house. So that was the angel of God inside my grandma talking to my mom. And I want to thank God because everybody respected that and we listened to that. No one ignored our advice. So my sister came back with the Niva, and miraculously, I should say 10 or 15 minutes later, we started hearing these screams from all over the community. People had already spotted the fire gutting up our main house. Now, for some of you have never been inside a grass thatched house, the roof is so much low that when you are inside the kitchen or inside the house, you cannot directly see out because the grass is like this. So we could just see light outside, but we didn't see the flame roof. And my brother came out, I believe. I'm not so sure who came out first, but I think it was my brother. And boom, that's it. The house was burning. Everything was, and everyone had come back. In a blink of an eye, we had almost the same number of people who were at home during the burial. All of them were there trying to rescue some things here and there. So the screaming started. And people are like, yo, what's going on with the DK family? This guy was just buried not so long ago. And now the house is burning. Come on. So someone was like, you guy, your father went with all his property. And I was like, no, that can't be true because my father died and you cannot tell me he died, came and burnt the house, and went away with all his property in Spain. I was like, no, what kind of a man would do that? So My people came. We rescued some few things here and there. Now the worst part is that when the main building was almost getting done with it being consumed by the flame, all of us saw this flame that flew across and landed on the kitchen roof, and it started burning the kitchen. It was crazy. And we had goats in the kitchen. We had chicken. People ran in there. I remember I did one of the bravest things in my life, because I remember that evening we had posho. I may not remember the sauce that we had, but our major sauce, our major posho, our major food that evening was posho. And I remember that usually there is that posho that remains in the saucepan, with the hope that you consume it for tomorrow. And I want to thank God because I gained all the courage. With the kitchen roof being on fire, I ran, got inside that kitchen, and I pulled out that saucepan of posho, and I dragged it up to the coffee plantation, and I started celebrating. At least I had done something. I didn't just remain a useless child in that situation. People helped us. We lost 50,000 shillings inside that house. And by then, there was 50,000 shillings was a lot of money in the year 1999. It was a lot of money. My father had already bought nails that he intended to use to hold the mabatis or the iron sheets on the house that he intended to build. If you came to my home, our home, you would really see that the nails that were used were rust nails. Now, the following day, everything was a disaster. And people came to see how they could help one or the other. This is just a family that lost a father not so long ago, not even 20 days, and you had lost your father, the houses got burnt, all clothes got consumed, and several other forms of property. Now, people came. I remember people donating to us so many clothes, because the only clothes that we were left with after that fire were the clothes that we were wearing. That's how weird this was. And I remember my grandmother, one of my grandmothers, the sister to my father's mother, a lady called Grace Osilo. She lives in Bali. She came because my father used to work for her. My father used to manage her vehicles. She came with a lot of iron sheets. I remember there were 32 in number. And people joined us. This is a sad story, People joined us, started putting up the holes in preparation to build the house. As soon as as soon as we put the iron sheets on the house, we started living in. We stayed inside that house even before we could put mud around it. Like, of course, our walls, when you come to my place here, most of the walls are those of mud. Uh, the people who have some resources, some money, can go to the others of bricks and stone. But the majority of the people, what I should call the low income, the low income earners, usually use the soil around, mud, to hold the house together as its main wall. And before we could even put that, we were asleep. So as soon as we just had a roof, we tied curtains around and people started sleeping. I remember about 5 years after my father died, we went through hell. I should say that. I remember one time when some really mature people, sane people, came to our home, and these are people whom I should say related to my father, came to our home, started beating up my mother. Young, of course, we are so young. All you can see is your mom get beaten up, and there is nothing you can literally do. These guys beat up my mom. I remember one guy was really holding my mother's head and pressing it hard against the bottom ground. I think about that and tears start rolling my eyes. And it's just something weird. I want like people still do that? Like, where do you even get the energy to torture a widow and five orphan kids? And one of the reasons we found out why they came and beat up my mother so early before we could even wake up from bed. Like there are these mornings where you just wake up and when you open the doors, there are people outside. Because one of the questions they would ask is like, how is this widow feeding these orphans? How is she doing it? That means she's stealing. Then somebody goes through his garden, and the next thing is that they somebody seems to have plucked off my maize, my growing maize, and that means there is no other person who can do this except this woman who practically has no source of income. You know, those are some of the weird things that kept happening. They accused my mom of stealing to feed kids. Several accusations. I have seen some of those elders have come back to my mom and apologized. They're like, you know what, we are sorry. Things that happened. It's now it's come to 24 years since we lost our father. These elders have come to say, we are sorry. Let bygones be bygones. And I want to thank my mom because she taught us to let go. There are some people in my community technically that if we had held on to this anger, we wouldn't be greeting them. And I want to thank God because I think we just have the best mother in the world. Her name is Justin Kusro. Apparently, Justin Kusro is the current councillor of this area. And she taught us to let go. She said, certain things you have to let go. Things of the past. You've come from so far. You shouldn't hold on to things that happened yesterday. And this is the same thing that I want to sell to somebody tonight. Wherever you are, I have so many of you guys watching my videos from the USA, from Canada. I have friends who are in China watching my videos. I do my videos locally using a simple phone. And I want to tell you guys, no matter the situation that you're in, God will always use somebody to bail you out. God always appears through somebody. No matter that situation that you are in right now, there is hope. Do not lose faith. Do not give up. Keep going because something good is about to happen in your life. I want to encourage you to spread your hand and help another person. There is joy in helping people who are not even related to you. Don't only think about your family. When you have a job opportunity, do not just think about your family. Don't just think about your kids. Don't just think about your sister's kids. Don't think about your brother's kids. Bless somebody who least expects it. Become a blessing to another person. One way or the other, you are where you are because of somebody else. Your angel can come from the most unexpected places. Above all, I want to tell the young people, stay strong. Do what is normal. Do what is normal. Stay strong. Speak the truth. Speak against evil. You have to do what is right. When you look at the world of today, you've heard about homosexuality coming all over, and you ask yourself how really another man marries another man. There is no sense in that. And being a person who I believe is sane, I have to tell you that that is not you. You cannot do that and think you're okay. This hurts some people who are, but that would never be right. No man is designed to be with another man sexually. That is not right. I know this offends you, but that is not right. You are a woman, you've been married into a new home. Somebody's son has brought you to be his wife or as his wife. You do not arrive there and start abusing your mother in law, your father in law. That is not normal. Much as they may annoy you to what extent, you've got to stay strong. Certain things you ignore and pray about it. There are a lot of challenges, temptations around all of us. We have to remain strong. We have to remain wild in a good way. Otherwise, there is no future for us if we are only going to think about us. As you take care of you, stretch your hand to take care of another person. My name is Chepkrui Agre, commonly known as Agre DK, and I am glad to have spent these few minutes to speak to you. And I request you that just below this video is a subscribe button. Please tap on it so that each time I upload another video, you get a notification. Until next time, may God bless you so much. And I love you guys, wherever you may be.